Welcome once again to Timeline Secrets. Today we delve into a place shrouded in fear and mystery mentioned in apocryphal texts such as the Book of Enoch. Dudael, the prison of the fallen angels, a site where, according to tradition, those celestial beings who transgressed divine laws were chained in the depths of darkness. Although the Bible does not explicitly detail this place, the Book of Enoch provides terrifying descriptions that transport us to a scene filled with fire, shadows, and eternal punishment. But what led these angels to be exiled? What is this truly like? Get ready, because today we venture into one of the darkest aspects of Judeo-Christian tradition. Approximately 5,000 years ago, during the antediluvian era, a group of 200 angels descended to earth with a clear mission to observe and guide humanity in its development. They were known as the Watchers, celestial beings tasked with watching over mankind without interfering. But something went terribly wrong. According to the Book of Enoch, these angels did not merely witness the rise of civilization, they became fascinated by human women. Their leader Simza convinced his brethren to swear an oath they would descend together and take human wives. This decision meant directly defying divine law, yet they did it anyway. From their union came the Nephilim, giant beings with supernatural abilities. These entities are said to have been violent, predatory, and a destructive force upon humanity. But this is where the story becomes controversial. Some texts claim that Azazel, one of the most influential watchers, taught humans advanced knowledge, mythology, astronomy, herbalism, and the art of war. To many, this act was seen as a rebel that led to humanity's moral collapse. However, others argue that these angels were not corruptors, but bearers of wisdom, trying to free humanity from the ignorance imposed by God. The situation spiraled out of control. God saw that the earth had fallen into chaos and ordered divine intervention. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel were sent to capture the Watchers and eradicate the Nephilim. Azazel was the first to be judged, and his punishment was severe. The remaining Watchers met the same fate. Some were sentenced to 10,000 years of imprisonment, while others, according to certain texts, were exiled to different dimensions or planes of existence. And here arises the ultimate question: were the Watchers truly villains, or were they attempting to accelerate human development? If the knowledge they provided was so dangerous, why did it become the foundation of all great civilizations? This event stands as one of the earliest great rebellions recorded in Judeo-Christian tradition. It was a harsh, exemplary punishment, yet its legacy still lingers, leaving us to wonder, did humanity lose its greatest chance to access forbidden knowledge, or was it saved from its own destruction? The punishment of the fallen angels was not death, it was something far worse, a sentence from which they would never find rest, a torment designed not just to imprison them, but to erase what they once were. Dudael is not merely a place of confinement, it is a conscious prison, an abyss that WTHS in the bowels of the earth, sealed with a darkness so dense that it devours all light. The archangel Michael was commanded to seize Azazel and cast him into this bottomless pit, where the flames do not consume flesh but devour the soul, where the rock is not stone but living blades that tear without end, and where time does not move forward, it only repeats in an infinite cycle of agony. But the fire is not the worst part, nor is the silence, not even the despair. What truly makes Dudael a fate worse than non-existence are its guardians, beings that are neither demons nor angels nor anything that can be understood by the human mind. They feel no emotion, no rage, no pleasure in what they do, because they are not living entities in any traditional sense. They are pure manifestations of torment. Some have called them the wardens of the void, the eons of perpetual sorrow, the defilers of silence, and those who have tried to describe them have gone mad, incapable of putting into words what they saw. Their forms are not fixed, they shift, constantly fracturing into impossible limbs, torsos bending in multiple directions, countless eyes opening and closing in places where they should not exist. One of them, the guardian of the threshold, is described as an entity that does not walk but glove slides over the ground of Dudael, leaving behind a trail of liquid shadows. Its face is a smooth slab of stone, featureless, yet a deep crack runs through it, a crack that widens each time a condemned soul screams, absorbing their wails into its abyss. Others, like the lamenters, have no form of their own. They are nothing but mouths piled upon one another in a pulsating mass, crawling among the prisoners, whispering their own screams in an endless echo of suffering. The punishments in Dudael are not physical for the flesh has no meaning here. Instead, the condemned are stripped of the ability to forget every second of their existence is a reminder of the mistake that led them here. They cannot sleep, they cannot close their eyes, they cannot even escape into the mercy of unconsciousness. Those who try to resist are dragged by the guardians into the depths of the abyss, where lies the pit of 1,000 faces, a gaping fissure at the prison center. From it visions emerge, reflections of their own sins rising from a tide of liquid shadow. They take the form of those they betrayed, those they condemned with their actions. Here the fallen angels do not just suffer, they are forced to confront their guilt, to relive it over and over again with no hope of redemption. And the worst part, Dudael is not just a place of punishment, it is a place of waiting. The fallen cast here are not meant to remain in this abyss forever. Their sentence is only a prelude to something even worse. Because according to prophecy, on the day of final judgment, they will be dragged from their prisons and cast into the lake of fire, where the torment of Dudael will seem merciful in comparison. But until that day comes, the prison remains in silence, with only the echoes of the damned reverberating through the void, while the guardians watch without rest, waiting, observing, ensuring that no one, absolutely no one, can escape their fate. The punishment of the fallen angels was not the only one. The book of Enoch states that the human women who united with the Watchers were transformed into sirens, a claim that has sparked much debate and interpretation throughout history. In Greek mythology, sirens were hybrid creatures, sometimes depicted with the bodies of birds, other times with the tails of fish, but always possessing one defining trait: their ability to seduce and lead men to ruin. In this context, the transformation of these women into sirens seems more symbolic than literal, a representation of divine condemnation for their role in the corruption of the angels. Some texts suggest that this transformation was not merely a punishment, but a form of marking these women as cursed beings, trapped between the human and the demonic, forever severed from their original nature. This also ties into ancient cultural narratives that associate mystical female figures with temptation, transgression, and chaos, a concept seen in the Jewish tradition of Lilith as well as in the Greek sirens, who were originally portrayed as former priestesses cast down for their defiance. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this fate is found in certain apocryphal fragments which hint that these sirens were not merely condemned to exist in the seas, they lost their souls entirely, becoming spectral entities doomed to wander, neither alive nor dead, unable to find redemption. If this interpretation is correct, then their fate could be even worse than that of the fallen angels themselves. While the Watchers were imprisoned, these women became something else entirely: eternal outcasts, trapped at the edge of reality, silent witnesses to the fall of those who once adored them. The punishment of the Watchers did not end with their fall, nor with their imprisonment in Dudael. There exists another place, one even more terrifying, a chasm where 7 stars burned like mountains, consumed by fire, a realm where agony is not eternal, but prolonged enough to break even the most powerful of beings. When Enoch witnessed this place, his mind failed to comprehend it. There was no sky, no earth, only chaos and fire. Confused, he turned to the archangel Uriel and asked what he was seeing. The answer was unsettling: these are the angels who disobeyed the commandments of the Lord. Here they shall remain for 10,000 years until their sentence is fulfilled. This revelation shatters our understanding of divine punishment. Not all fallen angels share the same fate. Some, like Azazel, were cast into eternal torment, bound in shadows without hope of redemption. But these 7 angels were not condemned forever, only for a fixed period of time. This suggests that their sin, while grave, was not an absolute and irredeemable transgression, but something that could still be purged. And so a terrifying question arises: what happens when those 10,000 years are over? If their sentence is temporary, it implies the possibility of release. But what will happen when that moment arrives? Will they return to their place in heaven having paid their penance, or will their liberation mark the beginning of a new era of chaos upon the earth? Some interpretations suggest that these 7 angels were not Watchers, but entities even more ancient, dating back to the very formation of creation itself. According to certain esoteric traditions, they may have been guardians of primordial knowledge who, upon challenging divine laws, were punished but not destroyed, because their very existence remains necessary for the cosmic order. An even more disturbing theory proposes that these angels will not be released in the traditional sense, but will instead awaken at the end of times, playing a role in the events that precede the final judgment. And the most unsettling question of all has their time already come to an end, if Dudael has ever trembled, if the earth has ever felt its breath grow shallow, if shadows seem to shift without reason in the forgotten corners of the world, is it because the prison is weakening? If the 7 fallen angels awaken, the world will never be the same again. If the book of Enoch reveals anything, it is that the story of the fallen angels did not end with their punishment. Dudael still exists hidden somewhere on earth, burning in the shadows, holding Azazel and the Watchers in eternal torment. But even more disturbing is the fate of the 7 bound angels, those whose punishment is not eternal but temporary. And so the greatest question remains, what will happen when their sentence is over? Because if they were truly condemned for 10,000 years, it means that one day their prison will open, and when that day comes, humanity may witness an event that has been waiting in the shadow since ancient times. If the punishment of the fallen was rooted in their corruption of mankind through forbidden knowledge, was humanity truly saved, or was it deprived of its own evolution? If the Watchers sought to free humanity from divine control, were they redeemers or traitors? And if those sentenced to temporary imprisonment return one day, will they bring destruction, or will they be the heralds of a new order? The book of Enoch is not just a cornerstone of Judeo-Christian mythology, it is also a warning. It speaks of what happens when cosmic laws are challenged, when higher beings succumb to temptation, and when divine punishment is more than just condemnation. It is a structure that maintains the balance of the universe. But perhaps the most unsettling thought is that although most religions have abandoned these accounts, the world keeps moving forward, and if those who were sentenced still exist somewhere, then it is not impossible that one day their story will collide with ours once again. If you enjoyed this video,